Welcome to Gaia's Calling, where stories ignite your spirit and the earth whispers her secrets. I'm Brad Swift, a right-on-purpose author of eco-fiction and nonfiction, inviting you to become an eco-guardian. Together, let's explore the wonders of our world and take action to protect them. Listen closely. Gaia is calling. And today's call from Gaia is from truth to practice, living the four great truths in a time that matters most. I slept well last night, which feels a bit like a small miracle these days. How about you? I woke with a renewed sense of clarity that it's time to write the next One Cause article, but not just another installment. This one feels different, more urgent, more personal. You know, we've walked along together through the four great truths over the past month, each one revealing a facet of the deeper story we're living into. You know, like interconnection. Everything is connected. Every action matters. And sufficiency. There is enough when we remember we are enough. And reciprocity. Life thrives through give and sharing. Stewardship. We are caretakers, not controllers of this living earth. But what happens when these aren't just ideas we believe in, but truths that we live? Remember, we started with the be, do, have, on-purpose perspective model. That who we are, which includes our beliefs, both individually and collectively, shape what actions we see possible to take, which then gives us our results. So what happens when we replace the four great untruths with the four great truths? And equally important, we move from the head to the heart and to our hands. So the synergy of truths, a regenerational lifestyle. Something powerful happens when these truths converge, not just in theory, but in practice. Synergy starts to amp up our results. Truth times truth times truth times truth doesn't just equal a better world, but a regenerative future. This synergy leads to what we might call a regenerational lifestyle, a way of being where care replaces consumption, collaboration replaces competition, and purpose becomes as vital as breath. It shapes how we relate, how we raise children, how we vote, shop, garden, spend time, and tell stories. And most importantly, it calls us home to what matters. We begin to reclaim our role as imaginal selves, the agents of transformation inside the chrysalis of this collapsing civilization. More on that metaphor in a future article. You know, it's a lifestyle we're just beginning to remember. In fact, many haven't yet been so introduced to such a possibility, which is why I am encouraging you to share this article, podcast, and the One Cause movement with others. And if you're on the Substack page, there's a link right there to share, because we're creating a movement to a new regenerative future and a way of life. So please share this article. It's a simple action of reciprocity. So do the great untruths just disappear? Well, here's the rub. The great untruths don't vanish overnight. After all, we're surrounded by a culture shaped by them. And so they linger. They whisper. They try to seduce us back into old patterns. Like, you're on your own. Or more is better. Or take whatever you want. Or control is everything. But every time we act from the great truths, we weaken the grip of these old myths. We realize that we're never completely alone, but always connected to nature and others. We embrace the truth that we have enough, and we learn how to share, and that we're both mindful of the resources nature is ready to share with us as we grow into being stewards of the earth, eco-guardians in training. Earth listening circles, from insight to action. This is why Earth listening circles matter, not just as events, but as practices. In fact, your first circle might be, just with you, one person, sitting with the earth, listening, asking, what would you have me know? It reminds me of something my first coach taught me, more years ago than I care to remember. It's this formula: insight plus action equals growth and development. That's what Earth Listening Circles offer, a sacred space to receive insight from the land, from your heart, from the living world, and then to act on it. And with each action shaped by the great truths, a regenerative future begins to emerge. So living it, our story from the loving homestead. Here on our little mountain homestead in North Carolina, we're doing our best to live these truths. Last week, our grandson, Logan, came for a full day of adventure with Granddude, that's me, and Grandma. It wasn't a formal lesson, but as we planted seedlings together, I introduced him to a new world. Reciprocity. I know, he's 4. That's a big 5-syllable word. And he got it. With muddy hands and wide eyes, he started to grasp that what we give to the earth comes back to us in ways both delicious and profound. Recently, during our first Earth Listening Circle, I scouted some wild blackberry canes at Highland Lake Cove. My friend, who owns the land, welcomed me to dig up a few. Those berry plants will soon join the growing food forests we're cultivating here at home. Reciprocity scores again. And our larger family dream is coming closer too. Amber, Justin, Logan, and little Piper joining us to co-create an intergenerational haven we're calling the Loving Homestead. We're not doing it perfectly, but we're doing it together. And that, to me, is what living the 4 great truths looks like. Real life ripples beyond our backyard. Living the 4 great truths doesn't require a perfect plan. It just takes a willingness to try. We're not alone in this. Here are just a few ways others are living into their own truths. For example, a public school in Oregon transformed its lawn into a pollinator corridor, inviting bees and butterflies and students to learn side by side. Then there's a Detroit neighborhood that turned a blighted lot into a thriving permaculture garden that feeds dozens of families. And in Atlanta, a group of teens created a clothing swap and Art for Activism collective, reducing waste and raising awareness. And then there's a Vermont seed-saving library, reviving ancestral crops and holding workshops on food preservation and land care. And while I'm thinking about it, here would be a perfect opportunity for you to share what you're creating as a regenerative lifestyle in your area. So I'm going to be placing a comment button right there. Now, each one of these is small, but each one is also seismic because they're rooted in connection, sufficiency, reciprocity, and care. These aren't big institutions or governments. They're people like you and me, listening, acting, regenerating. So here's an invitation into the now what? So here we are. You've read the truths. Hopefully you've felt their pull. Now comes the invitation. Start small. Choose just one. Try it on. Live it this week. Plant it like a seed in your own life and see what grows. Then come back here and share what the experience was like. Yep, there's a leave a comment button there. And to support you further, here's a bonus assignment. Join an Earth Listening Circle. Now, let me just say, there's a link there. And when I see enough interest, I'll be facilitating these online. And yes, they can work well online as well, because you have opportunity to go out and be with nature in your own area and then come back online and to discuss it. Or just take a quiet walk with the intention to truly listen. Or talk to your kids about sufficiency. Every small act becomes a ripple. Every ripple becomes part of the great turning. Together, we're not just imagining a better future. We're living it. Oh yeah, and here's a PS. A regenerative step you can take today. Recently, Ann and I watched Common Ground. It's a documentary about soul, that's S-O-I-L and S-O-U-L, and the future of farming. And there's a link where you can find out more about this fantastic documentary in the Substack. One thing it reminded me, regeneration doesn't require acres of land. It starts right where you are. Hell, our own lot for the Loving Homestead is no more than probably half an acre. And you can plant herbs in a window box or shop from a regenerative farmer's market stand or start composting or learn more about your own food story. It all counts. It all heals. And the earth responds. Let's show her we're listening to her. This is Brad, your eco guardian in training.